Well, it's always been about the message. So the message that I'm sending is the same as Ron Paul's, and it's an important message. So here's my trend line. People are coming out to see me and what I have to say, and that's been growing, and I've been doing this now for 2.5 years, and it continues to grow, and I think Ron Paul would say the same thing.
But Ron Paul chose to run as a Republican.
Well, I got cut out of that whole process, I think, very unfairly. But here it is, an opportunity to continue to talk about this message, because I think Ron Paul's candidacy is going to come to an end. I don't think he's going to be the Republican nominee. And so what happens to that message at that point? What happens to this message?
And what does happen to this message? Because, so your message is, I'm sorry, you're pro-choice, you're pro-gay marriage, you're pro-legalizing marijuana.
Balance the budget. Get out of Afghanistan.
Okay, so it's a lot like Ron Paul.
Bring the troops home, right?
There's a lot of Republicans in this country who would define themselves as socially liberal and fiscally conservative. And yet,
I think the majority of people in this country define themselves that way. And I think that's the Libertarian Party, the notion of fiscally responsible, socially tolerant. I think, well, I fall in that category. I think the majority of Americans do. Now, it's one thing to fall in that category. It's another thing to actually have a resume to suggest you could do the job. Meaning, it's one thing to point out the problems that the country is facing. It's another thing to point out the solutions. I think you could be homeless and potentially do that. But you do have to have a resume to run for President of the United States. I think I have that resume.
Two-term governor of New Mexico. You did cut taxes. You did balance the budget. So you look at the problem right now in Washington, because on this show we get very frustrated with the fact that people come on from both sides with an idea that doesn't listen to the other people's idea, and here we get closer and closer to the cliff, and we're just going to be like a bunch of lemmings and go tearing off it.
So how about
what would you do?
Yeah, well, how about a libertarian president that challenges Republicans on spending? How about a libertarian president that challenges Democrats on marriage equality, on getting out of the war, on bringing our troops home, on drug reform? I just think that perhaps a libertarian president could tap into the best of both parties.
So you, yourself, I see you've got your Live Strong bracelet on.
Right.
Fitness guru, triathlete. You've climbed Mount Everest.
Mount Everest. Mount Everest to the top. Wow.
When did you do that?
2003, after I was through being governor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why would you want to run for president?
Well,
I mean, you got a life, because you can't have a life if you're running for president.
Well, and I think this is a life, and this is really important. And I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't important, and I wouldn't be doing this if I couldn't do the job. So, 2.5 years into this, and I come back to the fact that the people that are listening to what I'm saying are growing in number. I really think that this is the political movement in this country, that it's going to happen. The question is, I guess, when, and will it happen in time? A government collapse is really not that far off.
And one final question for you in terms of how you see issues. If you were but not running for president, Barack Obama's come out for gay marriage, Mitt Romney's against it, maybe on some of your fiscal points of view he's more on your side, who would you vote for?
I was asked this on NPR the other day, and I did climb Mount Everest. And so I think you want somebody in this job that can hunker down, do what it takes. Well, if I were on the torture rack and I had to vote for one of those two, just take it to the bank. I think I'm going to go ahead and die.